Hi, everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining us. My name is Fletcher, Senior Editor of StreamTV Insider, and I'm here with Jacques Mancq, CEO and President of Broadpeak. Hey, Jacques, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Thanks for being here. Okay, so you've been at the helm of Broadpeak for over 15 years. So I guess to start us off, could you just tell us a little bit about the company and kind of from your experience there, what would you say is one or two of the most significant changes or developments, be it tech, infrastructure, that's kind of impacting the industry right now?
So Broadpeak is a leader in video streaming technology. So basically, what we do is that we provide software. We provide software that can run on-prem for some of the largest telecom operators, cable companies. Like people like Charter in the US, for example, uh, groups like BT or Orange in Europe. Astro in Malaysia. And we also provide software as a service for streaming platforms and new medias, people like Fubo TV in the US, for example, or people like TF1, RMC, so these types of players. So we do everything from the transcoding to the packaging to the delivery and to the advertising. And so we're very present on the full chain, I would say, and we headquartered in Rennes, France, west of France in Brittany. And basically we present across 23 different countries, so we sell. So basically we touch 250 million people, with our technology. If you look at our different customers, if we aggregate the subscriber base. So enough with Broadpeak, so your question was about, I think what we've seen during the last 15 years, or at least during the last few years, a few changes. So what is striking, I would say, is the fact that everything is streaming video now, today. It was not the case before, when we started, there was still a lot of satellite TV, it was a lot of cable TV, and now it seems that everything is streaming. Every TV you buy from Best Buy is connected to the internet, so everything is streaming, and that's a change that we've seen accelerating with time. Something also striking is the opportunity for digital advertising. Digital advertising is changing because these TVs are connected. You have the opportunity to do more with that. And it's a big shift also in terms of advertising potential revenue. Things didn't change. Like, for example, sports is still very popular. People love sport and people watch a lot of sports, So I would say, yes, it's still the same, but different. Yeah.
Yeah, you touch a lot of aspects and obviously different parts of the infrastructure and network. And I'm glad you touched on sports because I wanted to bring that up for a minute because live has obviously also made its way to streaming. I mean, we see niche sports, major sports. They had the Super Bowl on streaming. So I guess from your purview, kind of you're on the back end doing the infrastructure networking. What are some of kind of the biggest challenges or perhaps missteps when it comes to delivering a live streaming TV experience?
Live streaming, I believe, it's maybe two or three big challenges for live streaming. The first one would be scale, of course, scaling the live streaming. It's we know that. I mean, even Netflix, who is pretty good at delivering videos, they struggle at some point. Remember the Mike Tyson game, so that was actually not totally successful. So scaling is a big issue, so right now, especially since everything is streaming, so you don't have plan B, So before you could say, oh, I'm streaming, but it's still available on terrestrial or satellite, but now it's like the only way to deliver. Scale, piracy is a nightmare, So it's piracy is a huge business, and it's a shame. I got conversation with people, even CTOs, as they tell me, "Oh, we know it's a problem, but by the way, my son is using one of these pirate boxes, and it's not a big deal." So people don't realize that piracy is a big issue, and I think it's hurting any content, but especially sports, I would say.
Yeah, with the price of live sports too.
Yeah, exactly. And finally, advertising. Maybe so advertising, I would say, it's also a big challenge because how do you monetize? You get that great content, it costs a lot of money. You get a good subscription, but if we can expand, the number of users by throwing in a little bit of advertising, then it can be very useful. So probably 2.5, I would say, scaling, fighting piracy, and improving revenue with advertising.
Yeah, so all obviously key aspects to streamers and what they're doing. So maybe could you talk to me just a little bit about what Broadpeak does specifically to help on either any or all of those aspects? Maybe just call out a couple specific things that in how you help piracy or monetization.
First of all, for the scale, and we're probably very well known for this, at Broadpeak, because we really help our customers stream at scale. So scale is about density. It's about being able to stream a lot of content from the same server, because if you have like a CDN, if you have a distributed infrastructure, with a lot of cache servers, you need to make sure you have like the maximum density so that it costs less, and it actually is easier also to deal with the peak of traffic. So density is where we're very strong, and we can very help. Also, for one of the issues for some of our customers is that dealing with the peak is always a surprise, because you don't know what kind of audience you will get. So it's also being able to sleep at night. And so multicast ABR is a great technology for this, because you basically erase the peak. So you don't really care that much whether you have like 1 people watching or 10 million people watching, because it's going to use the same from your network. So that's a big plus. That's where we really help for scaling. For piracy, where we're very good is that, the issue with piracy is that when you deliver a live game, it already looks like an attack, because you have so many requests. You don't want to touch anything. You just want to deliver and make it smooth. It's only the day after you realize you had a lot of pirates, and your content was shared. So where we can help at Broadpeak is that within seconds, we can detect people sharing tokens, people cheating, and we can basically like cut that service, or we can even do more. What I love about what we do at Broadpeak is that we can educate people. I was telling you, some people they cheat, they don't pay, but they don't realize it's very bad. And instead of like playing the game, maybe you can play, like a commercial for the game or for the service, so that they say, or maybe instead of being like, here with my pizza ready, I cannot watch the game. Maybe I can pay for this. It's only $25. So it's like an educational thing. And for where we help with the advertising, for me, uh, and you were asking me, earlier, what has changed, in our industry. And when we started Broadpeak, YouTube was like playing very small videos, tiny videos, and nobody knew exactly what the business model was, or it was not clear for anybody. It's obvious today, they generate $50 billion with YouTube, and already 1 billion is sent to phone. When they can send a recommendation to the phone, I mean, you can get an ad, you can send to cart. Amazon is doing this also. Yeah. So for me, the fact that every TV is connected, it's a huge opportunity for broadcasters and streaming platforms to tap into the digital ads revenue. There is a demand for this, and we can help them there. So I would be really the 3 or 2.5. I would say like scale, fight piracy, and tap into the digital advertising revenue.
Very cool. I want to come back I'm just curious. You mentioned kind of these peak traffic spikes. So what have you witnessed? Is there any like main peak traffic or any kind of surprises or peaks that you saw, examples you could give?
Yeah, so there are many of them, because they're beating the records every year. But one that is very special to me is GeoStar. When they carried the IPL, when they streamed the IPL, I believe like we had like a discussion with Akash Saxena, the CTO of GeoStar, and he was saying that they're streaming 120 terabits at peak, which is big. But what is even more crazy about the audience that they got is that they had 72 million people watching at the same time. And for me, I'm French, and 72 million streams, it's more than we have people in France, So it's like every French person would be like watching the game, So it's a type of peak that is striking, and it's only the beginning, I would say, and these numbers are, for me, they're unbelievable, and they're amazing.
That's a lot of traffic. Okay, so one more for you with that. With that in mind and kind of looking ahead, is there anything that you would recommend streaming providers prioritize or kind of next steps when it comes to preparing or optimizing networks for a strong live delivery experience?
So anything we talked about, for the scaling, different ways of, deploying like efficient cache that can also save energy, like relying on multicast ABR, taking the piracy issue really seriously, but, and of course, like starting monetizing. But what I see as one new parameter for the battleground for streaming, is the latency, the low latency, and the ultra low latency. We've been very active at Broadpeak on media over quick, and here there is an opportunity to stream video like if you were there, So and the Of course, if you are exclusive on your territory, it's not a big deal. Latency is not a big deal because you get the rights. Nobody's going to watch it from another source. But sometimes I watch a game and I'm talking to a customer from the other side of the world, and they're sending me a WhatsApp notification. And WhatsApp messaging, it will be one demanding parameter for latency because you don't want your game to be spoiled, and you want to make sure that you can offer live content like if you were there. I'm quoting one of my customers saying, I asked him, how is latency important to you? And he said, it's very important. I said, what are you talking about? What do you expect? And he said, I expect live like if I was there.
Yeah. As close as to real time as possible. Well, this has been super interesting. That's all the time we have, but thank you for watching and thanks so much, Jacques, for sharing with us and being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.